Hey everybody, I am back with a new TV show review, continuing on with Batman Brave and the Bold. Now I'm covering season 2. If you want my thoughts on season 1, please follow me in my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. You can follow me in the other links in the description below, like my Twitter, Twitch, uh, uh, Patreon. If you want to further support the channel, please continue sharing and subscribing. This, that, and the third. My TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. So, yeah, continuing on. I can't believe there's only 3 seasons of this, but I'm thoroughly enjoying this, and most of the fun coming from this show is just watching Batman team up with, lesser known characters. And uh but like what they do with it is done so uh earnestly and sincerely, and it's like this thanks to this show, it makes you love certain characters that you have completely like either ignored or do not know about at all, and you learn a lot from, or at least makes you want to learn a lot from certain characters that come into play. And this show, or at least this particular season, has one of the best episodes that is critically acclaimed by a lot of people, and I argue is right up there with like a Batman Heart of Ice in terms of like very well done of an episode. We'll get that in a minute, but uh, this of course also has like a two-parter plot point with all the characters that Batman has teamed up with in this particular season, and a few of them from the previous season, in order to take care of a major threat. That's an overarching plot, which I think that still make this series so unique that, like, yeah, it can still stick with an overarching plot while still handling like little adventures along the way until we reach to the uh, climax, pretty much. So we got an episode like I kind of enjoy. It's probably like my favorite Plastic Man episode out of the entire series, and like we get to see Booster Gold too. Booster Gold and Plastic Man are like probably like the biggest goofballs in terms of the superhero community, but they come through in a pinch when it counts. No, matter of fact, no. Uh, I like this episode, but there's a better Plastic Man episode that will be coming a little bit later. But Plastic Man uh, is confronted by two villains, Kite Man and Rubberneck. Now, Rubberneck is just like this big bruiser who technically has stretchy powers too, but more so his body. He's is a big lumbering oaf, but his body is super durable and is made of rubber. So he bounces around. He takes in blunt force without injury onto himself, which is like a good like counter to Plastic Man. But this show has made Kite Man the most competent that I've seen, because thanks to the Harley Quinn show mostly, where they make Kite Man such a dweeb. This show shows that yeah, whole kite motif is still dumb, but he's like a competent thief and a leader of a heist crew. And just because his name is Charles Brown, they kind of lean too hard into making him like a complete goof in other iterations. Where looking at this, it's like, man, why didn't we just adopt this mindset? He doesn't need to be an A-list villain like the Riddler or Joker, but This shows that a good writer can make Kite Man like, oh, yo, this dude can be pretty serious, and he can utilize kites, and he doesn't always have to use kites specifically, but kites have to be involved in some mechanism of his scheme. Like he's done this braid component to turn Plastic Man into just like a solidified statue, which is probably the best way to deal with somebody with Plastic Man's powers. But he teams up with Batman and, to save Plastic Man's family, because he has like a hot wife and a baby boy. And it's like, how did a guy like that end up with a smoke show like this is beyond freaking me. And you see him hit on another woman in the next Plastic Man episode, which looking back, I guess, like, since he's a good guy, but I guess what makes him such a unique character is that he's not like morally strong to the same component as like someone like Batman. Plastic Man is kind of like maybe like your average dude, where he's like, he stopped a bank robbery, but he gets tempted, like, nothing wrong with me, like, just still a little money here, still at least a little bit of money. It's like, no, can't do that. So yeah, it's like, ultimately he'll do the right thing, but it's just like, he gets tempted, which is make him like more endearing when he overcomes that temptation in order to save the day. What was another one that I really? Oh, this is like a big deal. Another great episode. A lot of people remember this thoroughly, where we learn more about the backstory of the scarab Jaime Reyes has been using, where he captured a villain in space, takes him to the Green Lantern Corps to get put into a cell, but then Guy Gardner, Kilowog, and the other Lanterns puff their rings and say, like, you gotta let go of the scarab. Of course, like, Blue Beetle is like, what the heck is going on? Batman shows up, like, okay, what the heck is going on? Why are you trying to arrest this kid? And they go to the Guardians and they point out that the scarab is invented by these rival to the Guardians, this alien race called the Reach, who are world conquering species. And they tangled with the Guardians millennia ago, and they lost, and they realized, okay, we can't take them head on. So there's a few survivors from the Reach by that time invented these scarabs and scattered some of them, into various planets, and to find like I still don't understand the mechanism of finding like a worthy the way I think they described it is where, like, find the ones that has the capability of being like the, I guess, true champions or what have you of that planet. They bond together and pretty much like like a sleeper agent. So they fuse with the host, say that their plan of becoming a hero and everything like that. And once the time is right, they they're the Scarab's prime directive activates, completely taking over the host, causing them to once lulling the planet society in a false sense of security, and completely do prepare that said planet for takeover by laying waste to any defenses to make it easier for the Reach to just mosey on in and take over. Uh, so the Reach and by extension the Scarabs has always been like cats and dogs. They do not get along. Uh, there's been other iterations. I think in Young Justice. I haven't seen Young Justice since the first season. I kind of, you know, I kind of, didn't really feel the show like that. But there's been iterations where the Scarab, acts kind of fidgety whenever it gets around a Green Lantern because that innate, you know, rivalry between the two. But I do not care for Guy Gardner, you know, in this particular episode. Now, normally people don't really care for Guy Gardner that much on the best of times. But in this particular moment, like I, really did not care for him. But I mean, then again, it's kind of like true to the character's motif, honestly. But because Jaime has already in this episode been struggling to figure out his purpose and like what he stands for, and did he kind of just lucked into the suit? Is he really meant to be a hero? Blue Beetle has been going through like a serious arc throughout this series. Learning the roles for Batman, learning about the previous Blue Beetle mantle wearer, and is he like, can I live up to that, that status of a hero that he set for me? And now, like, am I worthy of being a hero at all, and things of that sort. It's like he's a teenager. He's going through some things, and he's not only in personal life and coming of age, but also trying to figure his way into the superhero world and finding his place. So now Guy Gardner is, throwing the Lantern Oath in his face because he has something that he stands for. But, this kind of puts Jaime out of sorts because he's still personally trying to figure that out for himself. But eventually, his Scarab, despite his apologies, says that he has a directive. So he starts to take over Jaime Reyes, lower the defenses of the Green Lantern core planet, allowing the other Scarab hosts to come on in. Batman and the other Lanterns try to fight him off. Jaime eventually overcomes, through sheer force of will, overcomes the control of the Scarab. Comes up with the idea to have the remaining Lanterns charge up, use their rings to power up his Scarab, so he can have the extra boost to take over the other Scarabs and break the mind control, and then dispel the influence of the Scarab. So now, at least in this particular series, Jaime Reyes is the only wearer of a Scarab, and on top of that, not succumb to the mind control. I remember in Young Justice vaguely that there's a similar situation where the Reach, tried to invade utilizing Jaime Reyes and other hosts of other Scarabs from other planets for a hostile takeover. I do recall something like that, but I can't remember the full story. But I know that happened at some point in Young Justice. But it was like a pretty good story and a nice little story for Jaime Reyes. Probably one of the best ones. Uh, uh, we got an introduction of the Metal Men. I thought that was pretty cool. Metal Men and the Doom Patrol in this season. And there's those lesser known teams. But unlike the Metal Men, the Doom Patrol at least had a TV series on HBO Max. And I watched the first couple of seasons. It was cool, but I kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like fell off. And it's not like it was bad, but it couldn't keep my attention, after a couple of seasons. They started introducing like Cyborg uh and all these. I know, like, these other characters that the Doom Patrol kind of teamed up with. Like this show, you learn a little bit about these lesser known characters. Like, there was like a poster about Beast Boy, during this visit at this carnival, and this what's that this muscle man who Mr. Flex or something, like Flex something, where every time he flexes his muscles, like he alters reality or something like that. I do wish we would have gotten that girl with the DID. I forgot her freaking name. She had 23 personalities, and each one has like a different power or something like that. But we only got like Robot Man, Mr. Negative, the guy in the wheelchair, forgot his name, and then Elastigirl, who after hearing that, I was like, wait a minute, isn't that the same name as Mrs. Incredible? But I'm guessing, is this a coincidence? Because Mrs. Incredible's former superhero name was Elastigirl. But if my first instinct was like, wow, did the Incredibles writers rip off like the name Elastigirl from Doom Patrol, thinking like, oh, nobody reads Doom Patrol, so nobody's going to pick up on this. But then after a moment longer of thinking, maybe it's a happy coincidence. How many names you can give a stretchy person? We're like Mr. Fantastic, Monkey D. Luffy, even though that's not a superhero name, Elongated Man. We got, Miss Marvel, but that's like a mantle. But it's not many like puns or turn of phrases you can use to emphasize the stretchy ability of a particular superhero that you're using. So Elastigirl is like, or Elastigwoman, I guess. But going back to the Metal Man, the Metal Man is like another version of like a Doom Patrol, but I thought they were kind of interesting. Each one based on a particular metal alloy, gold, platinum, copper, mercury, lead, and tin. And they, unlike the Chief, who was the leader of the Doom Patrol, we got this other guy who is pretty much like the Chief, only without the wheelchair situation, dealing with the Gas Gang, which is, you learn a little bit about chemistry in this particular episode of the Metal Man and how they are used, which is pretty dope. And the Gas Gang is former associates of the Metal Man leader. Hold on a second. William Magnus, that was his name. Got oxygen, helium, chloroform, carbon monoxide, and carbon dioxide. And like their outfits is pretty much like something like typical containers for these gases. You got an oxygen tank, a rubber size container that can expand for helium. Carbon monoxide has a Bunsen burner with a fiery head. Chloroform has a cylindrical tank perforated with holes from which it emits gas. And carbon dioxide has an anthropomorphic dry ice is an anthropomorphic dry ice crystal. So so like the Doom Patrol, you can actually do something with like a short little series with the Metal Men, but and with the Gas Gang being like the major villains for them, but don't know how, because I don't want to turn into another like situation like we did with Guardians of the Galaxy, where every time there's some kind of new team of unorthodox members, people gotta utilize the skin of Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's getting kind of annoying when like any trailer to like they did with the that game Concord when they first show like a trailer of that, you can't help but think of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's so lazy. Or Borderlands movie, that trailer to that, another Guardians of a Galaxy type, and it's like I don't want Metal Man turning into that, because they're unique where it's like not like a kind of like a G Willikers type of attitude with all of them. Of course, you can modernize their personalities a little bit. But they're still like, okay, this is pretty cool. And they can morph and shape their bodies into almost anything. They're sentient cyber synthetic robots, I guess. But it's a cool thing where, because I like it when they some episodes give Batman new costumes, and dealing with like the Gas Gang, they cover Batman's costume to this patchwork of different metals for Batman to utilize in order to take on the Gas Gang, which is pretty dope. And of course, Little Tin, who is a little self-conscious because he's kind of like the weaker of the metal, but thanks to Batman's encouraging, let him know that everybody has a role to play, even somebody like you, Tin. And Tin, in the end, of course, that has to come back around. You just had to, with that little dynamic. With Tin saving the day and their leader, it was pretty dope. There's an episode where we get to introduction of Firestorm, which you might recall the character from the Flash TV show, the Grant Gustin version, Flash. Firestorm showed up in the first couple of seasons. Ronnie Raymond and Martin Stein. Now, it's always like a thing where one has to be like a intellectual kind of scientist and the other got to be some kind of jock. Of course, in the Flash TV show, they have like Martin Stein as like the white guy who's older, and and Ronnie typically being like the black kid uh, who's like the jock. Here they got the white guy as like the uh, taller, bulky jock, while uh, the black kid is like the nerdy Urkel looking guy. But it's not like a stereotypical nerd with no type of like backbone. He has some self respect about himself, so I appreciate that. They didn't lean too far into the stereotype, and we got to see like while tangling with this old school villain named like Doctor Double X, who's pretty much like a Jekyll and Hyde type of situation. Only they his dark half separates from him while they try to commit heist and to try to power themselves further so they can always remain separate, because they can't remain separate for too long. Uh, During a heist gone wrong, it caused the creation of the Firestorm Matrix between Ronnie and Martin, but in the process also divided Batman into three parts. His aggressive physical nature of himself is all about just like fight and nothing else. Fight, working out, and just the physical component. While there's another separate Batman who's all about the detective, intellectual stuff. And then the last one is, I want to say, all compassion, because he seems very laid back, stoner attitude. But it's the, I guess, the moral nucleus that holds everything together. Whereas the chiller part of Batman, the understanding part, they all take on Dr. Double X. And in the end, we get Batman put back into one while we get a new superhero. So that was pretty fun. I like to see like those three different types of Batman's personality bicker amongst each other. We get we got another episode with we introduction with the superhero sidekicks. Like we get Robin, who eventually by the end decides to be his own person and become Nightwing. Well, we get to see Dick Grayson, Robin, Speedy, Green Arrow's sidekick, Rory Harper, before the whole drug situation occurred. He still has the whole G. Willikers attitude. Remember, this is the Golden Age type of era of DC. Then we got Aqualad, not the black guy, but the white guy, Garth, who you might recognize from the original Teen Titans show, with like he's wearing the all blue costume, the slick black hair. Which I missed this version because I'm not sure what happened to that particular version. Well, he's known as Tempest now. Since the title of Aqualad just went towards the black guy, who turns out to be the son of Black Manta, which is like a nice, cool backstory. And it's kind of funny because Beast Boy's name is, Beast Boy's name is Garfield, but sometimes people call him Garth, so it's kind of confusing. he was the original sidekick of Aquaman. So, and they all like help. Well, while Green Arrow, Batman, and Aquaman's dealing with the whole situation with Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul and the League of Assassins, trying to commit this devastating some kind of explosion, trying to like disrupt like some particular ecosystem, whatever, or at least trying to kill a bunch of people in order to make way for like trying to help the Earth or whatever. They not these heroes are not acknowledging that their sidekicks are grown up a bit, and they still treat them like little kids. And even though sometimes they act like little kids themselves when they're around each other, because they're competitive and like they they really like to take charge of at least allow one take charge of the situation, because it's always Batman always just instinctively trying to take charge, but of course Green Arrow is always like a rival to that. Um, uh, but and then always, and then oh well, it's always like somebody trying to play peacekeepers, usually Aquaman, but that trickles down to the sidekicks, and they end up picking up, or at least by osmosis, just doing the exact same thing. But in the end, they end up teaming together to take down Ra's al Ghul and his daughter. I do not like the look of Talia al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul, as a matter of fact, in this interpretation from the show. Well, less so with Ra's, because they trying to do their own twist on the version we typically know him as in Batman the Animated Series. So I can give it a little leeway with that, but I don't really care for the look of Talia al Ghul in this particular show. She seems like she got like a massive forehead. I don't know. We get an introduction of Black Adam being summoned by Dr. Sivana in the episode with Shazam teaming up with Batman in order to stop Sivana from he stands up stealing the powers from Black Adam for his own. And of course, with the arc behind the whole entire situation with Billy still longing for family, and seeing Black Adam like, opportunity for a family. Sivana steals the powers of Black Adam into his own, and Batman ends up tricking him into saying the name Shazam in order to, remove the powers, which allows Black Adam to make his escape throughout that distraction. And then in the end, retconning Mary Marvel to be his long lost sister, who's been adopted by the typical parents that we saw from the movie. But in most cases, they're not the Marvel family. They're not blood related. Here, they made Mary Marvel and Billy actually brother and sister, twin siblings, which is fine. It's not a big deal. Later on, by the end of the season, we see more of the Marvel family teaming up with Batman to deal with all of the Marvel family's rogues, while Batman is, get hit some kind of magical thing to reverse him into a child, while trying to deal with the Mr. Mind and Savannah and other rogues of the Marvel family. All except for Black Adam. uh uh but the Captain Marvel. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I This is around the time where I, before they end up changing to give him the name Shazam as his code name, because Marvel wanted to have uh, Carol Danvers to be just go with the code name Captain Marvel, because they didn't want to confuse the readers. Like it's so hard to correct them, like at least let people know, like when they talking about DC Captain Marvel or Marvel Captain Marvel, it could have just go with that. It's one extra word in a sentence that you have to use to clarify. Or if somebody's confused on it, doesn't take much energy to clarify. Some people like, no, I'm talking about the DC version of Captain Marvel, because he is, to me, I grew up with him being called Captain Marvel. I rarely call him Shazam, because the thing is, why would you have him now? And more recently, I don't know if it actually stuck, because it's still stupid, at least in my opinion, because there wasn't. At first, they went, I think it was around New 52, they wanted to go with Shazam as his code name. And I thought that was dumb, because why would you call yourself the very word that is used to change you from Billy to Captain Marvel and back and forth? But then they tried to insert a excuse like, oh, you got to say it with passion to make it work. Well, what was so hard about like just leaving things as it were? But then more recently, I think in the past year, I was reading like some Captain Marvel comics. He wanted to go with like the Captain, and it's so, how many characters in DC got the title Captain in their name, and it's like, it's so lazy in my opinion, and it's like, just, I would rather you just stuck with Shazam. Just leave it. Just stop it. Okay, it's already bad enough you have to be forced to change your freaking name because of Marvel. But going with like the Captain is so lazy and completely unnecessary. Just leave it be. Anyway, it was like a little tangent, because I always thought it was so dumb. But one of the greatest episodes, honestly, Chill of the Night. We got an introduction of Phantom Stranger and the Spectre. And the Spectre in the comics is known as God's Vengeance, a very powerful magical character, on like nearly an Omni level kind of powerhouse, who's just all about vengeance. Do wrong, this dude will like dole out punishment far beyond the necessary norms, because he, it's like Ghost Rider on steroids. Well, like literally in the next episode, in the teaser part, where Batman teams up with the Spectre to deal with this Professor Milo character who's utilizing rats to steal jewels from him. Batman shows up and has to protect, after he stops the villain, he protects him from the Spectre. It's like, that's not justice, Spectre. Like he's gonna face the law, and that'll be that. He's not gonna be facing your kind of law, because that's not justice. That's just straight up punishment and literally vengeance. And that's not what Batman is all about. Because if you remember the animated series with Lockup, where it's like, yes, villains need to face justice, need to answer to their crimes. They can't do that if they're dead. And heroes are not all, aren't about killing their enemies. They need to face their crimes, hopefully be rehabilitated. You give them that chance. And your brand of uh, uh, justice isn't justice. You're doing more harm than anything else. But as soon as Batman leaves Milo to the cops, handcuffed, Spectre shows back up, turned this dude into cheese, and releases the rats to just literally go to feed on him. They pan away, but you let your, and kudos to this show, they don't make it blatant, but they let your mind fill in the blanks, knowing what happens to people. They don't shy away from the concept of death or killing here, but they ain't gory about it. But you can leave your imagination and know that this dude was literally eaten alive by his own pet rats. That is horrific. And the Phantom Stranger, I forgot, the origins of Phantom Stranger, but he's another nearly omni powerful being. He is formally named Judas Iscariot, and once apostle that betrayed Jesus and caused his death. After deleting himself, the Council of Wizards cursed him to walk the earth forever, so God sent him on a quest to atone his sins, turning him into the mysterious Phantom Stranger. Which is a nice, cool backstory for this character. Rather than the heaven or hell he expected, he had found himself in a strange chamber faced with the Council of Wizards. Though he felt he deserved his fate, he begged forgiveness, not knowing how dire his punishment would be. There were two others alongside him. The Wizards called them all the Trinity of Sin, the world's most egregious sinners. The Wizards gave his punishment first, charging him with avarice and forever branding the 30 pieces of silver that he had earned into his skin. Though he knew that greed was not his greatest crime, it was the betrayal. He awoke in a field of blood alive. This place was significant to the crime he committed. As he called out with confusion at his apparent resurrection, a voice boomed down, urging him to put on the robe that lay nearby and complete his punishment. When he put on the robe, he realized that it was the robe of his betrayed friend, and it held a transformative power. From the moment he put it on, he would forever be a Phantom Stranger. He realized that with each act he did in the service of the voice, assuming it's God, he would be one step closer to redemption. Until the voice came again, he would have to wander and remain nothing more than a stranger. Divine empowerment. After being cursed by the Council of Wizards to live forever in shame among the humans for his sins, God made the stranger his eternal servant, resurrecting him with amazing abilities that would help him along his journey. Immortality, flight, magic, intangibility, divination, astral projection, force field, cryokinesis, Eldritch Blast, suggestion. Stranger forced a room full of police officers to fall asleep with verbal command. Ectokinesis, possession, emotion manipulation, invisibility, teleportation, telepathy, size alteration, transformation, reality alteration, and biofusion. Weakness, non-direct interaction. So I need to check out the Trinity War. I think I read that once, or Trinity of Sin. I think that I read that once. Yeah, it was like 6 issues. Yeah, I'm gonna put that on the list because I haven't read it in a while, and I remember it being kind of cool. That'd be interesting to think to read up on. Anyway, uh, back to the Chill of the Night. Sorry, I went off on a tangent here. We got the Spectre being voiced by Mark Hamill, Phantom Stranger voiced by Kevin Conroy. We got Adam West voicing Thomas Wayne, Julie Newmar voicing Martha Wayne. So we got these legacy Batman actors involved in this particular episode. That's why it's such a big deal. But this is a one of those rare, well, I won't say rare, because Batman still is teaming up with other DC characters, but they aren't like an active player into the main action. They're literally on the sidelines. Batman is on the trail. He got some clues on who had killed his parents. So he tracks down the mob boss and other goons, trying to find the name of the person who done the deed, which would be Joe Chill, because for the longest time, at least until like around like maybe like the mid 2000s, the name of the killers of Batman's parents has always been a mystery. But we finally got a name, Joe Chill, and who turns out to be like a weapons dealer now, who was at once a flunky to a mob boss. And Phantom Stranger and Spectre made a deal, considering that Batman's on the precipice at this point, where his quest for revenge on what happened to his parents is leading up to whether or not will Batman remain his moral, virtuous self, or will he let vengeance corrupt him to the point where he abandons all what he stood for altogether in order to become just like this agent of vengeance and nothing else. So it's literally like an angel and a devil on Batman's shoulders. Also, it's the first episode where we actually see the face of Bruce Wayne in this series, which is amazing how they held off up until this point. And I'm glad they waited to like an important moment like this to where it impacts. Phantom Stranger steps in, pretty much trying to do like the whole Ghost of Christmas Past situation, where he takes Batman back where he sees his at this kind of ballroom costume party where he sees his parents all dressed up, and of course he knows his father wearing this very very old gimmicky bat like costume, and come to realize how he little he realized his father had influenced his decision on what his costume will be in the future. He says like how he buried that part in the deep recesses of his mind, but that's where that idea came from this particular costume party. So some crooks show up trying to rob this charity ball, and Batman ends up teaming up with his own father. Of course, he doesn't let them know what's what, because Phantom Stranger says like, "What you do here ain't gonna change what's gonna happen." But it's a nice moment where Batman gets to hug his own mother, and it kind of warms your heart. It's like you haven't seen them since that fateful night. He never got a chance to actually speak with them, and it's like a little moment where Batman just like it really just want to savor a minute, but until like these crooks burst in, and Batman and Thomas team up to take down these goons. But in doing so, one of the goons uh, 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 allowed one of his flunkies to make up for the botched job by taking out Thomas Wayne. And of course, this is where Spectre shows up and shows him what transpired and what led up to the whole situation. And Batman was just fuming, like, how casually, just sign away their death warrants so flippantly. Where was justice? Where was justice indeed? And it's like Mark Hamill's amazing, the voice actor, man. And it's like he can just do other voices beyond Joker. And it's like I love his take on the Spectre. It's been I'm pretty sure there was like what was it, Justice League Dark or Constantine animated film or something like that with like a teaser or a short little adventure with the Spectre, but I can't really remember. So so far as like that, it's like my only headcanon of what the Spectre's voice would sound like. But it's like I love that he just egging on Batman's like quest for revenge. It's like, where was it indeed? But then once Batman eventually gets the name Joe Chill, he tracks him down while he's trying to auction off a weapon to a handful of Batman's rogues gallery. Of course, Batman bursts in, takes a lot of them out. He is on a tear. He takes, take down Mr. Freeze, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, Joker, and a bunch of other villains there, while literally hunting down this dude. He's running like a little punk in one of the office rooms, and Batman just beats him savagely. And he walks up to Chill, and it's like, you escape, justice for far too long, and for what you've done, like you're finally gonna face justice. And Chill's like, "What are you talking about? I don't even know you, man. Like, what are you talking about?" It's like, I'm the man that you took whose parents from. I am Bruce Wayne. And he whips off his mask. And it's like, wow, because he's literally this angry where he doesn't give a flying F about his secret identity at this freaking point. He wants this dude to know how much he has ruined his life. And it's like a big deal. And honestly, I don't really care for most parts of this comic book event, but Three Jokers kind of settles this moment between Batman and Joe Chill. Kind of wish we just stuck with a Batman and Joe Chill kind of situation without trying to throw in the whole Three Jokers situation, because DC need that handled, because they kind of left that lingering for like a handful of years once they brought it up. It was handled haphazardly, honestly. But I like what they did. I'm not going to spoil it here, but I like how they handled the whole Joe Chill situation, giving like Batman a bit of closure on that front. Here, it's like, yeah, this is just like just a lingering itch that Batman has never was able to scratch for a long time. This dude with one, I won't say one bullet, with one gun, had altered his entire life forever. He, in a way, Joe Chill shaped Batman. And so he got Joe Chill in his grasp, and Phantom Stranger and Spectre are literally on his, like, behind him, on his, like, behind his left shoulder and behind his right shoulder. And Phantom Stranger is telling Batman, it's like, okay, the day is won. Will you let justice do his duty? Or are you going to seek vengeance? And Spectre is like, you know what you have to do. He knows who you are. If he's allowed to live, Batman is finished. And it's like, Batman made me finish. But, I forgot what the full thing he says, but he accepts what might come about if this dude tells his secret identity. But he's not going to compromise himself irregardless. So he still, this is what we expect from Batman. Like, he knows what's morally right, and he's sticking to that to the letter. And Joe Chill literally runs away towards the other supervillains who are just coming to, and he tells them, like, look, like, guys, like, a long time ago, look, I don't know why he just don't come out with the freaking name, but it's kind of stupid, but whatever. But it's like, guys, look, Batman, look, a long time ago, I was mugging this guy, and I took him out and his wife, but the kid that was with them is like, he grew up. It looks like he was turning to Batman. Look, this is my fault. Like, this is my fault. It's like, oh, he's freaking out, completely panicking, and then Poison Ivy steps up. It's like, so you're the reason why Batman's always on our case. And Joker starts laughing, like, man, that is funny. And so they, because they look at it because of him, Batman exists because of this dude, because of what the domino effect he caused. So they ended up beating the crap out of him. Now it's kind of reminiscent to some older, Silver Age comic or Golden Age, whichever one of the two. But it wasn't the villains, but it was like other mob bosses where they end up beating Joe Chill to death. But here, because of the fight between the villains, caused like a structural damage, so the place started coming down, and Joe Chill gets caught up in the debris and dies. And the episode ends with Phantom Stranger asking Spectre, it's like, it's kind of a weird coincidence that Joe Chill, was in that particular spot to have that debris fall on him, and Spectre's like, I have no idea what you mean. So throughout, despite Spectre's faults, he still make sure criminals are stopped. Don't like the way he usually stops them, but he I guess in his way protects Batman's identity, because he sees Batman as like a necessary component, whether he realizes it or not, a necessary component for vengeance for the guilty of the world. Okay. Then we get the two-parter where, throughout this entire season, Starro has been thanks to this alien creatures, pretty much like the discount version of the Silver Surfer, being like a herald to this creature Starro. We might recall from the Suicide Squad, the second movie. And starts, mind controlling other heroes, which ends up leaving Batman teaming up with I'm blanking on his freaking name. Booster Gold, Firestorm, B'wana Beast, and Captain Marvel. And thanks to Captain Marvel's abilities with his magic lightning, it subdues Starro. But Faceless Hunter sees B'wana Beast's ability to kind of chimera different animals together to make some kind of super beast. He wanted to take the power from himself, and ends up fusing together all those Starros together into one kaiju. That's when Booster Gold gets the Metal Men, and they form their own giant kaiju, pretty much to take on this creature, while Batman goes to Faceless Hunter's ship in order to save B'wana Beast and stop Faceless Hunter. But in order to stop this creature, B'wana Beast, sacrifice his life in order to overload this creature or dispel, just keep this creature from being active long enough for the kaiju Metal Men to beat this thing savagely into putty, essentially. And of course, here Vixen and B'wana Beast were an item and expected to get married, but it ends on like a bittersweet ending, which is a pretty cool two-parter. But I lost my train of thought what I was going to say. But yeah, I mean, this is like it was a cool story for B'wana Beast, even though we only see him like at least a couple of times in the series. But I remember what I was going to say. Like I said earlier, this show doesn't shy away from things like death. Like they might have an off screen, but when they insinuate it, it hits a lot more home than it would be if you just blatantly show the death, which in most cases I kind of prefer. And we get a good Flash story where Jay Garrick, Wally West teams up with Batman to find Barry Allen, who disappeared a long time ago, seemingly dying when trying to stop the Reverse Flash, who is voiced by John Wesley Shipp, who plays Jerry Garrett in the live action CW Flash, who was previously Barry Allen back in the 90s during that short-lived season of The Flash back in the day. So, to a lot of people, he's Jay Garrett at this point. But he's voicing like Professor Zoom or Reverse Flash, which is pretty dope. I knew I recognized that voice before. I couldn't pin it because I thought, I was like, is that Neil Patrick Harris or something like that? But no, I was like, oh, John Wesley Shipp. That was pretty cool. So they end up picking up residual after images, which looks like it's coming from like far into the 25th century. So utilizing the cosmic treadmill, they travel into the future and try to take on the Reverse Flash, who pretty much took over the future at that point, utilizing the Flash in order to on this giant treadmill in order to power him up, as well as utilizing these bands that he gives to his foot soldiers in order to have his own speedster police force. But we get to the cool moment where you see Batman take these bands in order to utilize super speed in order to try to fight the Reverse Flash. But Reverse Flash is still a master of speed, where he, overcomes Batman eventually. But thanks to Wally and Jay, who has been, at least Wally was kind of biting Jay Garrett's head off because they kind of blame themselves for what happened to Barry Allen. And I like Batman, where he points out to Wally's like, Jay Garrett was the original Flash and he deserves your respect. You're not mad at him, you're mad at yourself because both of you have been beating yourselves up for what happened to Barry. And he wouldn't want you guys going at each other's necks like this. I like this because like Jay Garrett was the original Flash. But Jay and Wally gets trapped in the same treadmill as Barry, but they up their speed in order to cause a rip in reality. So they push Barry forward in order to allow him to escape so he could take on the Reverse Flash. And in a cool way, just taking him down was really funny. But it manages to put an end to Reverse Flash's machinations, and they travel back to the present and allowing Barry to take down the Rogues, who earlier, I really liked this moment because Barry has this kind of weird relationship with at least the majority of his Rogues Gallery, where they have this kind of like a repartee. They love the game of it all. Of course, they would like to kill the Flash, but they still love the game of it all. It's not too dissimilar with like Joker and Batman's kind of situation, or even Luthor and Superman. It's like there's a little tit for tat repartee about it. It kind of reminds me of my Justice League comic review that I did a few years ago. Forever Evil, where the crime syndicate comes to take over the prime DC Earth, and a lot of the villains have to take on the crime syndicate, and of course the Rogues take on Johnny Quick, the evil Barry Allen, and Captain Cold freezes this guy's leg, and I still remember it to this day. And he says to him, "You know why I never did this to the Flash? Professional courtesy." And he shatters this dude's leg, breaking it before killing this dude. And it was an awesome moment, honestly. And looking at this episode, as Batman deduces, like, you guys miss him because like they don't like dealing with other people that's not Barry Allen Flash. They don't know he's Barry Allen, but they know who the original Flash is. At least the one they want to take care, deal with. They don't want to deal with Geezer Flash or Baby Flash or Batman. They want the Flash. And it's like, it's kind of sweet, twisted way where it's like, wow, you miss him. I was like, do you miss him? It's really fun. But it was an awesome episode, honestly. It was fun to see like the Flash characters, because we haven't seen much of the Flash outside of Jay Garrick in that teaser in the last season when dealing with the Scarecrow with Batman. Or matter of fact, no, I lie. Then no, I'm thinking about the whole sidekick situation. No, the Kid Flash wasn't in that, but it's fun to see all the Flashes together, and of course they have to deal with not only Reverse Flash, but we get to see the other rogues like Captain Cold, Heatwave, and Weather Wizard. But it's kind of funny that as many times Batman has to deal with Gorilla Grodd, that is Flash's enemy, and it's funny how he often deals with Batman more so than he does with the Flashes. Oh, I want to run really quick with Plastic Man's. I honestly like him in this episode where Cry Freedom Fighters, where Batman and Plastic Man team up with the Freedom Fighters, consisting of their leader Uncle Sam, the embodiment of patriotism, Doll Man, Black Condor, Human Bomb, Ray, and Phantom Lady, to deal with these aliens from Cord, who's at least the supreme chairman of Cord, who's trying to invade Earth like he did other planets because he wants to. He's destroying pretty much everybody's, like, I would say destroying freedom, but he's pretty much becoming like a dictator essentially, with no thing about like no notion of democracy or anything like that, which is kind of like apt. I'm covering this particular moment here, given the fact that we're literally like a couple of weeks away from the next election. But Uncle Sam is just pretty much like the embodiment of the ideals of American patriotism and what America stands for. And he looks into Eel O'Brien, Plastic Man, and sees something special about him. And of course, the other team members don't see it. And of course, Plastic Man doesn't like have any notion about like what it means to be a patriot or anything like that. He doesn't know who like Benedict Arnold is. It's kind of funny. He doesn't even recognize the president of the time, which is like a gimmicky version of Barack Obama. But Uncle Sam has like an amazing powers. It's like he's pretty much immortal. He's been around since the founding of the nation. He got super strength, size alteration. He can form like star-spangled shields. Nearly clairvoyance. Pretty much whatever, I'm gonna say whatever you can do or come up with, but essentially those are the basics. He's like just his powers derived from like patriotism, at least specifically American patriotism. And but he has like a unique weakness, because the fact that when he and the Freedom Fighters go to this other planet to liberate the inhabitants of this dictator, the chairman, his power starts to slowly deplete because he's not on Earth anymore, let alone anywhere near the United States, where patriotism is like, fuels him. But thanks to Plastic Man, who uh, who is inspired by Uncle Sam, who sees him like look. Uh, as Uncle Sam points out, you don't need to remember names and dates of, like, of historical people or anything like that. It's just it's the heart and what America makes you feel. It's, is what it pretty much about and what it stands for, and the ideals of it all. That is pretty much like what really means to be or it inspires you in terms of American patriotism. You don't need to know like every little nook and cranny to claim yourself to be like a real patriot. Is the ideals that you fight for and what you're willing to fight for in terms of for the ideals of this country, and that inspired him to go to the other to these alien people to fight for freedom. And he and since everything's being broadcasted thanks to this villain, he got everybody, including Batman, to start singing like Yankee Doodle Dandy, which revives Uncle Sam, and they take down this chairman. I can't help but think about, if you remember from Street Fighter V, this new character called Q, who's pretty much like an Abraham Lincoln looking dude, and I can't help but think of the way Uncle Sam talks is the same way as it just brings me back to this freaking character who I couldn't really use all that well in Street Fighter V. I thought he was an interesting design, and the guy who loves to give speeches and everything like that, and walks and looks and try to appear like he's Abraham Lincoln, but he drives his powers from like the earth itself. But it's a cool design, honestly. But it was a cool episode, a cool Plastic Man episode where he literally, he has no notion at first about what it means, what American patriotism means. He actually thought it was the circus was in town, even though it was like an election day, not necessarily for like presidential election, but just like a probably like a lower level election for a particular state. But it was a cool Plastic Man story, honestly. Oh, and you get to see like Uncle Sam give Batman a new suit, which is pretty much, as I dubbed it in my mind, like a Captain Batman America or Captain Bat America. It's like, you cannot tell me, you look at that, you cannot help but think about Captain America with the wingtips and everything. And then the episode with Darkseid showing up, and we get the formation of Justice League International, which was, not the Justice League, but like a different members. It was around the time of the 80s, I think, of DC Comics, where you got Fire and Ice, Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, and Guy Gardner. Oh, and Martian Manhunter, along with Batman, in order to stop Darkseid's invasion, which we get to see Batman takes on Darkseid in fisticuffs, but it gives a nice needed distraction to allow the Question to sneak in and destroy Darkseid's massive boom tube machine to suck in all of his forces back to Apokolips and nullifying the invasion altogether. But that was a cool episode. And that's pretty much like the episodes I really, really, really dug in season 2 of Batman Brave and the Bold. Next one's going to be a little bit quicker. I'll get through as quickly as possible. of the final season. Then after that, I'm gonna go right back into anime, and in perfect timing because I'll be starting to review season 2 into 7 of My Hero Academia. And it's a perfect timing because Overwatch 2 started like this. You can purchase My Hero Academia skins for certain characters, which I did the other day, and I'm gonna be playing some Overwatch a little bit later this evening, and just straight up characters with the My Hero Academia skins for a good few hours. So look forward to that because that's gonna be really really fun. Um, Probably gonna be playing that for at least a couple of days straight. But that was pretty much it for season 2 of Brave and the Bold. Let me know which episodes were your favorite, which one is your least favorite. Because honestly, I think my least favorite was Batman Presents Batman Strangest Cases, which is pretty much just like little vignettes. I didn't really care about vignettes sometimes. I think that was my least favorite out of them all. Uh, but anyway, I'll see you guys in a few minutes as I will wrap up part 2 of my reaction to Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. So I'll see you guys in a few minutes to check that out. And then once that's wrapped up, next Saturday I'll get into reacting to the cutscenes of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Anyway, I'll see you guys in a little bit. Take care. Be well.